Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. Today, I want to talk to you guys about Shroom and Salsa, one of the coolest archetypes, in my opinion, coming out in set 12. We're pretty much talking about the archetype as a whole. This isn't going to be a deck list. I know I'm in my typical deck list format here, and normally when I do a card review and an archetype review, we normally just go on the Dragon Ball Super Card List website. We look at it that way, but there's so much about Shroom and Salsa that isn't necessarily encapsulated in the set 12 card pool, that I wanted to do it in this way, talk about some different strategies that I've been trying with the deck. I have been playing this deck a bit. I don't have a deck list I want to show you guys yet, because honestly, there's so many ways to customize it. This is honestly one of the most customizable decks in set 12. So that's why I want to kind of do it in this format, show you what I'm thinking, with, how Shroom and Salsa can be a pretty competitively viable strat. So if you guys are new here, definitely subscribe, hit that bell so miss video. If you want to help support the channel, go down in the description, check out the Patreon, because I actually posted a competitive analysis article yesterday about both Shroom and Salsa and Gogeta Xeno. So while this is going to kind of talk about how I think Shroom can be creatively built, that article goes more into detail about how I think the archetype will compete competitively and how much success it may or may not have. So if you want to check that out, go over there to the Patreon down in the description. Also helps channel out quite a bit. That being said, let's just get started. So Shroom and Salsa. Firstly, let's go over the leader. So when this card attacks, draw one, auto once per turn. If this card is in a battle, when you use a black battle card in a combo, your opponent sends one battle card from the drop area to the warp. That whole part right there is pretty much the cost. Then check if there are no battle cards in your opponent's drop area, draw one. So keep in mind that if you combo the black battle card and your opponent has one battle card in the drop, you warp it and then you still draw. It's not like it's not like a conditional in the sense that you have to do one or the other. As long as you do the thing and then there's no more battle cards in the drop, you're still drawing one. That's the same on the Awakened side as well. So what's really crazy there is in this set we're getting two Hercule-like leaders. The first one being Launch, which we went over in a video a week or two ago, and this one being Salsa, which is the first time Black is seeing an archetype like that. So for that reason, and many others we'll get to in this video, this leader and this deck is a draw powerhouse. You draw so many cards, and there's actually a lot of decks in set 12 that share that same theme. But anyways, the Awaken, when your life's at 4 or less, or your opponent has 4 or more cards in their warp, which there's ways to do that with the leader ability and other cards in the deck, you can draw one card, untap an energy, and flip over. Then we pretty much read everything on the Awaken side except for the Activate main. Once per turn, pay one of any color. If there are no battle cards in your opponent's drop area, choose up to one black Evil Wizard, Demon Realm Race, or Demon God with an energy cost of 2 or less in your deck or hand. Play it, then shuffle your deck if you look through it. So that effect right there is insane, because for 1 energy you're cheating out different 2-drops that are very, very powerful. One of the ones I have here that's not in the set 12 card pool, which is why I wanted to do the video in this kind of format, is Makika Bora, the Broken Seal. This is one of the oddly enough and ironically enough, one of the most broken cards with the Broken Seal that you can play with that effect, because we know Makika Bora is incredibly good in this format. Dark Broly's main decking it. A lot of decks are side decking it no matter what color they are, because this card in a format like we're in currently that's so archetype heavy, Makika Bora is amazing. Green Gotenks, Red Broly, Red Gogeta, Dark Broly, the list just goes on and on. This card shuts down so many strategies. That does change a bit though in set 12, because from what I've noticed from my testing, yes, there are still archetypes, but they're far less chain oriented than a lot of the set 11 decks are, right? Like Shroom and Salsa and King Piccolo and Launch, they play a lot of smaller battle cards, which means that Makika Bora doesn't necessarily shut off an entire deck's turn just by playing it. So there is going to be some flexibility there, but having the ability to play it on command from the deck in the matchups that you need it is a really big thing that Shroom and Salsa have going for it. There are other cards in the deck that you'll be able to play with this ability that we will go over as we get into the video. But anyways, let's go into this. So this is kind of like the bread and butter engine of Shroom and Salsa. To be honest, you could play Shroom and Salsa, the leader, not play a single Shroom and Salsa main deck card. There are ways to do that, but if you're looking at the pure Shroom and Salsa archetype, this is kind of the bread and butter here. So in terms of skillless battle cards, this is a pretty skillless heavy deck. So there is a Shroom and a Salsa skillless. You definitely don't have to play 4 and 4 of each in order to play this deck. There's just no need for it. You have ways to cheat out and recur your skillless battle cards. And I like Shroom because he looks a lot cooler, in my opinion, than Salsa does. So definitely play 4 Shroom. You might figure that you might need to play maybe a copy or 2 of Salsa just for ratios if you need to have more copies of the deck, things like that. But I would definitely go with 4 of one vanilla, maybe 1 or 2 more of the other if you just feel comfortable with that. Then we have Salsa, a new Demon God, and Shroom, a new Demon God. So they both share the Activate main. Pay 1 of any color, choose one of your black skillless battle cards with an energy cost of 2 or 3, and return to the owner's hand, then play this card from your hand. Their autos are what's kind of different. Their stat line's the exact same, obviously. So the auto says when this card attacks, send up to 1 battle card for opponent's drop area to their warp. If there are no battle cards in your opponent's drop area, choose up to 1 black evil wizard, demon realm race, or demon god with an energy cost of 2 or less from your hand or drop area and play it. That's on Salsa. Shroom checks for the same thing, checks to warp a battle card from opponent's drop area, but if there is no battle card in your opponent's drop area, you choose one of your opponent's battle cards and send it to the owner's warp. So basically, Salsa allows you to continue to spam, especially coming from your drop area. That's huge because that's pretty much a raw plus. Think about it this way: leader effect, combo, draw. You basically just replace the card you comboed, and then Salsa will later on play that card from the drop area. That makes that a super hard plus. So that's just another way, which there will be many, many ways in this deck that I'll explain to you guys. That's one of the ways this deck just pluses incredibly hard. And then Shroom offers you some removal, which is great. Now, the thing here that you'll probably have noticed by now is that a lot of the stuff is conditional on your opponent having no drop, which against a lot of decks, not a problem. Like, think about Sin Shenron. They're not going to put things in the drop at a crazy high rate. They're going to early on put their negative energy Dragon Ball in the drop area, and your leader having the inherent ability to remove that gives you an incredible edge in that matchup, right? That's one of the reasons why Dark Broly has such a good Sin Shenron matchup, is because they have good control over the drop area. But think about like this matchup against like a burst deck, right? A heavy burst deck like Vegex or maybe Clash Goku or Dredge Goku. You're going to have a little bit of a tougher time getting your raw pluses, but you are going to be able to control their drop area, get rid of really powerful things like Rebirth Punishing Passion, Sand Instincts, Roshi Kamehameha Origins, Zarbon Cosmic Elite, cards like that. So it is in a bit of a double-edged sword in the terms of, in some matchups you won't draw like crazy, but you will have very good control over a lot of cards that, you know, they need to basically help them win the game, right? So just want to keep that in your guys' mind. Anyways, moving along, there are more ways to facilitate the skill-less playstyle in this deck that I want to go over with you guys. Toa Dimensional Convoker is one of the cards in set 12 that is really, really good in this deck. So on play, look at top 5, get to add a Black Evil Wizard, Demon Realm Race, or Demon God among them and add it to your hand. One thing I do want to note, I'm not convinced it's the best super combo for the deck, but Evil Wizard Bibity is an Evil Wizard, right? Like the Bibity had to be errated to only get a maximum of 15k combo power. It is an Evil Wizard, so you can search it out of the deck, but I'm not necessarily sure that's the best super combo for the deck, because you're not going to necessarily build up your drop or warp incredibly fast like Vegex or a Burst Leader would. So while it is searchable and while it is playable from the deck off a few cards, I don't think it's the best super combo for the deck, but I did just want to make you guys aware of it. Activate main once per turn on this Toa. Pay a colorless. If your leader is black, play up to 1 skillless Demon God card with 15,000 power from your deck or drop area, then shuffle, and you can't use the activate main on this card for the turn. So those Shroom and Salsa skillless cards I showed you before, that's how you're pretty much playing them from the deck. This is pretty much like in Adventure Begins Son Goku. Yeah, you can't spam like a skillless card that's as big, like you can't spam a 30k for 2, but for 1 you're getting a 15k, which is definitely a solid rate, especially considering Toa already replaced herself. But then for some more skillless support, you have the options of playing cards like Son Goku, Nimbus Master. Now my thing with this card is I view Shroom, and really black in general at this point, as much more of an aggro color. Like, they don't have the super impactful counterplays. They're not really super impactful floodgate negates. You have Protector of the People. That's pretty much more of like a generic card. So Son Goku Nimbus Master is pretty much a purely defensive card. When you combo with it during your opponent's turn, you get to play a 2-drop or less skillless from your deck. And then this guy has the ability to also play himself, which granted does help you aggress a bit, but the ability to bring out a skillless, which you want to do to bring out your Shrooms and Salsas, to then, you know, add them back to your hand and essentially swap into your bigger Shrooms and Salsas. This card being inherently defensive is a little bit counterintuitive, but it could still work very, very well. Definitely can, especially considering that if they attack your leader, you combo with this, you get the draw, you save a damage, and you play a skillless. That can be very, very good. Dimension Sport Trunks is one that I've been trying, and I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about it, because Overwhelm 3 is not that hard to get in the deck, right? You combo and you get value out of that by drawing. So Overwhelm 3 is not that bad. It brings out a skillless, but it brings it out with critical. So for the turn that you bring out that skillless battle card, it's not considered a skillless anymore. So you can't swap it into a Shroom or a Salsa 5-drop, which does slow you down just a little bit, but it does bring out, you know, 2 attackers for 1 energy, one of them being crit, right? So there's definitely pros and cons there. And again, just the flexibility of the deck, it's a really cool thing that you have the option to do. So just want to also keep that in your mind. One more thing, guys, we'll talk about here. Mekikabura, the King's Summons. This is pretty much the SR that's totally built for this deck. I see some lists play it. I see some lists don't play it. Again, this is more the customizability of the deck, right? In my opinion, very, very powerful play you're able to do with this, and I'll explain right now. So activate main, pay 2 of any color. If your leader is a black Demon Realm race, and you place this card from your hand and 1 card in your life in the drop area, Send one battle card opponent's drops to their warp. Play up to 2 black battle cards with Evil Wizard and or Demon Arm Race with energy costs of 2 and different character names that aren't Mikikabura from your deck. Then you can't activate main on copies of this card for the turn. Okay, so that whole big book there, what did it just say? Basically said, pay 2 energy, discard this card, crit a life, so paying 2 cards and 2 energy. We won't really count the energy though in the equation. So you're bringing out 2 battle cards. So basically you broke even right there. 2 of the really good cards to bring out. You can bring out the Shroom and Salsa skilllesses, but 2 really good cards to bring out are Toa Secret Maneuver and Chain Attack Gravy. So Toa Secret Maneuver is actually a set 10 card that seemed to be totally useless until this came out. So auto once per turn when this card's played or attacks, look at top 5, add a Demon Realm Race, which a lot of your deck will be Demon Realm Race, to your hand. So on play, it's another plus. So that 2 cards you paid turn into 3 cards, and then Chain Attack Gravy, auto once per turn when you combo if your leader's Demon Realm Race. So when you use a Evil Wizard, Demon Realm Race, or Demon God in a combo, draw 1. So you know how your leader is basically turning cards you combo into draws. That's breaking even, replacing itself. If you do that with a gravy on board, you're turning that into another raw plus. So this 2 cards you paid has potential to turn into 4 cards, which is honestly pretty insane. But again, I see a lot of lists not playing it, and I don't necessarily blame them for that because it is rather costly in an aggro deck. 2 energy, even for this volume, is pretty costly, especially when it only spams a 15k and a 14k. It does get you a lot of draw, which is really, really good, but it does kind of give you a smaller board, which is something that is kind of tough to compete with right now as an aggro deck. You got to be able to either putting out big guys, or your leader has to be doing big damage if you're looking at Reboot Gohan, Vegex, or Red Broly, right? So those are things to definitely keep in mind. And finally, guys, just some more like tech stuff you can definitely include in the deck. So the Gravy 20k is really good because sometimes your opponent will have Dark Power Black Mass Sand, especially in like a best of 3 scenario, or if it's a mono black mirror, they might even have it in the main deck. So if you're going to be spamming skilllesses off the various effects, you don't want to get hit by Dark Power Black Mass Sand. You can bring out the Gravy, and even though it's a 0k combo, you're able to combo with your leader and still break even. So that doesn't really feel too bad there when you have to do that in a pinch, right? Toa Dark Sorceress is one of those cards I mentioned before that helps you with those bursty matchups because she puts a multitude of cards in the drop area back into the deck at one time, as where, you know, your other effects put 1 at a time into the warp. She puts 4 cards from your opponent's drop into their deck, and she evolves over that Toa we saw just a few minutes ago. Catapestle Engine, I think it's one of the most powerful mono black aggro engines right now. I'm actually playing it in Gogeta Xeno. I will actually be bringing you guys a Gogeta Xeno deck profile this week, so stay tuned for that. But anyways, going back to just how customizable this deck is, let's just say you didn't want to play any of the actual Shroom and Salsa stuff, or you want to play some minute amount of it. The Power Ranger engine fits incredibly well into this deck because it is a great mono black aggro engine, in my opinion. But anyways, guys, just my thoughts. I think I had a lot of them. I feel like I was just jumbling all over the place. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.